Gotcha. This is the power orb from Guardians of the Galaxy. And this little thing is what kind of put me on the map in terms of TikTok and some of my stuff blowing up, which is pretty funny. Apparently, less is more. Who knew? Now, this is a very, very, very simple and fun build. This is the second free file in my Infinity prop collection, and this is the fourth Infinity Stone in the series. Anyway, I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, know that this is from Guardians of the Galaxy, and if you've been following the trend of my other Infinity Stone props, if you open it up on the inside, is the Power Stone. Now, I went through a couple renditions of this after I had posted it on TikTok and my social media initially. Originally, it only turned on when you had it sitting on the stand. I would place the power orb on the stand, a magnet and a reed switch would activate the light and it would turn on and off. However, that left me with a little bit of a problem. I couldn't hold it in my hand without the stand. So after some suggestions and some thought, I added a little switch to the back and it works much better. Now, this thing is not as complicated of a build as some of you are probably expecting. This is easily printed on an Ender 3. It's about, I want to say 6 pieces. If I can count right, I can't. And the lighting system inside is insanely simple, but we have to cut some things out in order to get the LEDs and the battery pack to fit because this wasn't how it was designed. Both of these files for the stand and the orb are available on Thingiverse. I'll make sure I drop a link for that down below, but let's get this on the bench. We'll take it apart and I'll show you how it's built. So for this build, I'm really not even gonna spend any time on the stand. This is a incredibly simple print. Print it standing straight up. I'll show you the file in Cura in a little bit, but print's very simple. Put it on a high quality. It does generate some supports in here. Again, tree supports are always your friend when you have these little complex little caverns and little crevices that you need to support, but you don't want to get the supports locked in there. So this is very simple. This is what you all came here to see though. Now, it is in 2 sections and I printed a part wrong, and I'll talk about that once I get all the parts out, but hopefully you don't make that same mistake. And you can see this is just the plain top part, and then there's a little switch hidden right back there, and it's pretty flush and it's a nice little spot for it, so we can flip it on and off. Now let's get this thing apart, and first let's take apart this side. Now, I didn't glue or fuse this together permanently because I like being able to do this and actually separate these parts, and I can talk about how many parts it's printed in. Like this. Believe it or not, this is 2 different parts. The way it needs to be printed, you can see all the detail inside of here. So if you print it like that, the supports are going to ruin it. However, if you print it like this, there's going to be a bunch of supports in here that nobody wants. So what the modeler did is he cut a little ring off, just a little slice, and you print that sitting straight up, and then you print this like that. So it'll kind of look something like this. And what that lets you do is maintain all the detail, and you can see my weld line in there from where I fused them back together. And they stuck, printed with no inner supports, didn't need them at all, completely blocked it out, and it printed just fine. Now, the top parts and these 2 rings are exactly the same pieces. You can see there's a little skull looking hole here thing, and if you line it up with the other side, they actually match up, and that's what helps lock the whole thing together. However, these 2 inner gold pieces are different. There's an A side and a B side. I'm a dummy, I only printed one side. Maybe one day I'll go and print the other one. I kind of don't care as much though, so I'm really not too worried about it. And what this is supposed to do is allow these to lock together a little bit closer. You can see a little bit of a gap there. It's not the end of the world though, I don't mind it. Now, if we open up this side though, this side's a little bit more complex. And we can see hiding in here a little LiPo battery, some wires, and the switch. Now, like always, I can remove the LiPo battery. I added a little plug feature to it so I can always take it out and charge it. I didn't want to put a charging port through the orb. I already had the switch sticking out, and I didn't feel like trying to manipulate the wires in there. So I can take this out very simply and charge it. This is a 3.7 LiPo battery. Get them on Amazon, completely rechargeable, and they power 3 to 5 volt LEDs perfectly. From there was making the room to fit the battery in it. Now, this was never meant to fit any type of battery system. These all lock together and there's no space inside of it. So what I had to do was take my soldering iron, and you can see the stark difference here. I had to carve out the first shell layer without penetrating through the outside. And I was able to burn a lot of this out, and that even gave me room to put the little switch inside of there. Now the battery pack just has enough room to sit right in there, and I can put the cover back on. Now you'll also notice a drastic difference here in how much of the cover I had to cut out. Because the wires need to sit around this edge, I cut all of this off, and now there's room for the wires to wrap around. And you don't see this. Once this is back in, you can't even tell that the wires, that the back of it was even cut out. This just fits right in there, ever so gently, and you're none the wiser. Now, as for the electrical system that powers this entire thing, I said it last time that the ether might be my simplest circuit. I lied. This is the simplest circuit. A battery, the positive wire goes to the LED that's sitting inside the orb, lights up, comes out, goes to the switch. I can turn it on and off, and goes right back to the battery. Incredibly simple, straightforward. This is easily one of the most basic circuits you could possibly do. As for the LED and the stone sitting here, the stone is held on, like always, with a very tiny magnet, and this is a resin cast stone that I drilled a little bit of the back out so the LED sitting here can shine through. Now we can see the LED turns on, shines nice and pretty, and then I can put the stone right back on top of it, and it starts to glow. It's a lot more purple in person. It looks pretty blue in the camera, but it's purple. Now the system that supports the stone, because I didn't want the stone just sitting in there like a cup, is a little paper clip that I cut up and bent and stuck through the plastic and fused to the bottom here, and then I attached a magnet and taped the LED to the side of it. Very simple little system. Play around with it, but I can drop the stone right on it and it almost self-centers, and it looks great. Now, before I reassemble this, let's hop on the computer, take a look at the files so these make more sense. Here you can see all the parts to the orb. Here's the stand. Again, very simple. I'm not really going to cover this thing. You guys can just print this standing straight up, and you can see where it wants to generate support. So let's just get rid of that. Now here you can see the rim that I was talking about and the power orb itself. So you're going to print both of these twice. Now on the inside of the orb, it's going to want to generate support in here. You don't need that. You can completely get rid of support generation for this part, or you can lower your angle, right, or heighten your angle. So we have 85, that wants none. It doesn't like that though. Maybe 70. That's perfect. So it doesn't want to generate any supports inside of there. A little bit on the outside, but again, tree supports. Now this is where I messed up. I mirrored one and printed two of the same ones. There's an A side and a B side. This is the B side, this is the A side, and you can see it has little tabs right here that look like crowns, and then on this side it doesn't. This is to help lock it into place. This is the side I would need to go and print. It would lock together better if I had printed both B sides, but I didn't. I printed both A's, but oh well. These parts fit beautifully on an Ender 3, and you could probably get away with printing a lot of them in one shot at the same time, kind of like that. Or maybe ditch one, print that, delete this one, and then print the other side, just like that. Like I said, pretty simple. Now, as for painting, this one was pretty cool to do, and I'm really proud of the results I got on this. I obviously couldn't mask all the black off, so I hit everything with a really nice gloss black. I dumped it with a little bit of filler primer, but the quality of the Ender and how much detail is on this really lent to hiding a lot of the layer lines. If you look in between some of the black, you might be able to find some of them, but no one's looking that hard. You're looking more at the silver, and that kind of covers everything up. So print this on a higher quality, you're gonna need almost no sanding on this. Or you can, palm sand the outside, and it's really still not gonna lose much detail. I've been asked if this was done on a resin printer, and it wasn't. This was just a standard Ender 3 with normal PLA plus filament. From there, after the gloss black was done, I took a very, very nice chrome silver from an airbrush I don't use. It was some paint that was given to me. I didn't have an airbrush at the time, but I was able to use a hand brush and quickly go over everything. Paint is paint, it dries, you just have to work very quickly, and I'm floored with the results. It's nice, shiny silver. And then the inner gold was just a very simple Krylon, Rust-Oleum metallic gold. It's the same gold I've used on most of the other Infinity Stone props. And then I stuck my hand in some dirt that was like on my garage floor, some of the dust, and just started wiping and rubbing it to get it all in these cracks. The gold was too bright and I didn't like it. So I was able to dirty and kind of muck it up a little bit, and it really lent to the effect of being weathered or, not this pristine object. Now, there was a very mediocre attempt to embed some magnets. I put 4 magnets around it on each side, hoping I can get it to lock together magnetically. Maybe one day I'll go back to the drawing board on this. They are neodymium magnets. They are pretty strong, but they weren't quite strong enough to hold the orb together for any type of substantial movement. So, oh well, maybe you guys can figure out a better way to hold it and lock it together, or maybe me printing the proper part will help it lock together even better. The power orb. All right, this is gonna be a little bit of a weird cut because I totally forgot to talk about this during the assembly and disassembly. But the LED light that I have kind of flickering and flashing here, all that is are little LED tea lights from Halloween. I've shown these in a video before of just going to your local, dollar store and just grabbing cheap electronics, but this power orb is powered by just this tiny little 3-volt LED. This is the exact same one that's in there, and if you pay attention to the flickers, they almost sync up pretty nicely, or they're, well, pretty close. And instead, you could use this entire pack. You don't have to use a LiPo battery. You don't have to do this whole integration system that I did. This would save you a lot of trial and error, just drilling a hole in the bottom of it and sticking this tea light in there. But I wanted it to be rechargeable and have a little bit longer battery life. I've left this thing on for 2 days before, and it was totally fine. That LiPo battery more than powers this tiny little LED. So all you have to do is cut it off, apply it to our little wiring diagram here, the positive and negative, and that's it. Now back to wherever I decide to insert this. That does it for this video, guys. This is an incredibly easy build, and it's kind of just a nice little centerpiece to have on a display shelf. I kind of think even if people aren't huge Marvel fans, they'll probably recognize this from Guardians of the Galaxy. It's got a little bit of everything, a little bit of painting, a little bit of electronics, a little bit of print orientation, not really, but you can do it on something like an Ender 3, you can do something on a resin printer. It's very tiny and it looks pretty cool. If you guys haven't already, if you could subscribe, that would really help the channel out. This is the 4th video in my Project Infinity series, and next up we're going to be covering the absolutely super awesome Eye of Agamotto, Ugabuga, whatever you want to say. And obviously many more videos beyond that, so make sure you guys don't miss out on that. If you guys have any comments, questions, concerns about anything you've seen, you want me to elaborate or cover something or talk about something I didn't cover in the video, please drop a comment down below. If that's really not good enough for you guys, please go check out the Discord. It's about 4,000 members now, and we can talk, chat. It's a free Discord, 3D printing, cosplay, everything in between. Join it, it's free, why not? As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and you have a good day.